evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marc Scorca, and I'm president of OPERA America, and welcome to all of you to a Making Connections evening that I've really been looking forward to hear some of the work of John Musto. As you know, this Making Connections series is an extension of OPERA America's decades-long commitment to supporting the creation and production of new work. In the last 23, 24 years, we have awarded more than $11 million to opera companies in support of the commissioning and production of new American works. So we're very proud of that history. And the Making Connections series is an extension of that by giving some additional attention to works that we feel really should be heard more on the opera stage and among singers and producers. This program is actually being streamed from our website, so we have an additional audience that is around the country and perhaps around the globe listening to our work this evening. I would like to certainly thank our friends from Peer Music, and they've helped make the evening possible. There is in the conference room for afterward a full score of some of the works that you'll be hearing tonight, so if you want to take a look at those scores, you're more than welcome to do so. The space we have here, the OPERA America Lounge, will soon move. For those of you who have been coming here regularly, next week we move our office temporarily to the 18th floor of this building because we are about to begin construction on the first ever National Opera Center based here in New York, and in another year or so we will open this beautiful new recital and audition hall, which will be available for singers with a recording studio, rehearsal hall, practice rooms, all sorts of things. If I sound like I'm in the middle of a big campaign to build this idea, but the leases are all signed, and in the spring of 2012 we will open a beautiful 25,000 square foot opera center, and the heart of it will be an acoustically splendid audition and recital hall where these kinds of programs will take place. So in the meantime, you will find us on the 18th floor for the next Making Connections evening and for future Salon Series. Again, the brochure that was at your place lists both our Making Connections and Salon Series events. There's still some more coming up in the course of this season. And also at your place is a brochure that describes the 2011 Opera Conference taking place from May 7 to 11 in Boston. We have a lot more information on our website now, but this brochure can provide you with some basic information and be a reminder to you to go check out our website and register for the conference if you can come and spend a few days in Boston with us. We have a whole array of operas. We have our new work Sampler, which is going to be done at the Oberon, the second stage sort of cabaret space of American Repertory Theater. We'll have a field trip to the MIT Media Lab. Our keynote speaker is Nicholas Negroponte, who founded the MIT Media Lab. So it promises to be a really exciting few days in Boston, hosted by Boston Lyric Opera and Opera Boston. So those are a few OPERA America housekeeping details. They are underscored completely by a warm welcome to you all. Of course, when the musical program is over, I'll be back here with John Musto to ask him a few questions and chat with him and welcome some of your questions too. So without further ado, our featured composer of the evening, John Musto.
Okay, we're going to dig right in here. The first piece we're going to do is from an opera called Volpone, based on Ben Jonson's play of 1607. Very loosely based on this play. All the libretti of the pieces you'll hear tonight were done by the brilliant and we cannot do without him, Marc Campbell. And he's working on another piece. He's at Virginia with Reed Gordon doing something. So Volpone, all the characters in Volpone have animal names. So Volpone is the fox, and he has a servant named Mosca the fly, and there are three birds of prey, Voltore and Cornacchio and Cordino, the vulture and the raven and crow. And they're after his money. He is a con man, and he's a very well-heeled con man. But what his scam is that he and Mosca, they go from city to city. Mosca makes him up in sick makeup, makes him look deathly ill, and he promises each of these people that they're his sole heir. So they keep coming and giving him gifts of gold and silver and this and that, knowing that, figuring they're going to get that back plus everything else because there is some there. And they just collect all this loot, and at some point they say, okay, let's scram, let's go to the next place. So this aria is the beginning of the opera. Volpone is about to get into his sick makeup. Mosca has just woken him up, and because one of these vultures, one of these birds of prey is going to be at the door any minute, and he has to be in his makeup. So he gets out of bed. The last line you hear before he starts singing, before this excerpt, is Volpone says, "Thank you, good Mosca, for taking care of these affairs. Now to my morning prayers." And he kneels down before this big chest. It's like an altar. And he kneels down very reverently, and he opens the chest, and this is all his loot. And he sings his praises to the great god Gold. So here to embody all this avarice and duplicitousness and sheer narcissism of Volpone is Tyler Simpson.
I offer praise, great God, gold, and all the many ways your glory is made manifest. Goblets and ingots, medallions and crowns, coins, dust, teeth. I offer you a prayer that I will always be this blessed. Eclipse the sun, great God, gold. No other object, none, gives off a light as pure as fine. Nothing brighter, more inspiring, rich, true, good, nor half so rare. And I kneel before your shrine. What else gives meaning to my life? I've no vocation, child or wife, and little can exceed my joy in watching what our fools will do for greed. Your night is infinite, great God, gold, and all the rest of it is earthbound, boring, gross. Friendship, work, religion, art, love, sex cannot compare. Oh, that last one can come close.
Okay, we're going to fast forward into this opera because there's one more character that I didn't name. He's actually a creation of Marc. She wasn't in the original play. Her name is Herminella. Hermin. And she has been living in Paris for the last 30 years. And she comes back to Venice to find a son that she had to give away when she was very young. So, and he has one distinguishing feature he has, which he mentions in this. It's a birthmark on his rear end, which is in the shape of a boot. And it winds up that actually the son that she's looking for is Mosca, Volpone's servant. And the reason Marc gave him a boot on his rear end is because number one, it's in the shape of Italy, and also that's a lot of servants. So, and she's singing this, she has this lullaby that she sings. She can't quite remember how it ends. And this lullaby walks through the entire piece until people humming it, and he hums it, and Volpone, way in the second act, says, that's so familiar when he hears Manella humming it. No one really knows what it is. And so with this little snippet of music that's the lullaby actually winds up being the thing that identifies them to each other, because in this courtroom scene where all chaos is breaking loose, she says, I am your mother, he won't believe it, and she starts to sing the beginning of this lullaby, and he finishes it. And they, all of a sudden, they have this reunion in the courtroom. I guess that's all you really need to know. She was in Paris. Oh, and she'll tell you all about it. She's in Paris. She's also doing very well. She's run a very well thought out brothel in Paris for all this time. So she's come back to but this thing has been eating at her. She needs to find this son of hers, and she knows. In the beginning, she's looking around on the piazza, and she's trying to get her bearings, saying, "Okay, I remember. You know, where was it? Where was the house that I left him?" Eve Giotti. Okay, we're going to move along to the newest opera that we just finished, which we're opening in April at Wolfcraft. We have our maestro sitting right here, Glenn Cortese, who's going to conduct that. And take a look at this, so I don't read anything out, so I can tell you what's going on in this piece. We have a mayor in Sicily. This is originally, it's based on the government inspector of Gogol. But I wasn't so crazy about just writing something about 19th century Tsarist Russia. And I asked Marc if we could move it someplace more interesting. So we moved it to Sicily in the early 1930s. And so we have a mayor in Sicily who is less than above board, his entire administration. And he gets word that there is a visitor, a stranger in town, that everyone takes to be the inspector from the new regime that's just taken over. And so he gets very, very concerned about this. And in this particular aria, he gets kind of panicked about it. And so, but he's always thinking on his feet, and he's trying to think his way out of this through this aria. He has, he's in his office, and while he's coming up with ideas and turning things around, he notices that there's a nun who's come into his office. And so she's just come in, like many, many people come in to ask for favors. And when she comes in, the music you'll hear, actually, I don't know how many of you remember this, but there was a phenomenon in the mid-60s called Singing Nun. And she sang this little song going, and anyway, it was a huge hit in Bensonhurst, let me tell you. For a young man in Catholic school. So anyway, I thought maybe I'd borrow a few bars from the Singing Nun. So he winds up striking a deal. They seem to be mutually helpful to each other, he and this nun. And so he gets the music that ends this, that cuts him off. He's interrupted by his directors, his associates. That come piling into the room because he's called a meeting. So that's what happens at the very end. All of a sudden, the music gets very chaotic, and everybody piles into the room, and he goes on to have his meeting with them to tell them that the inspector's in town. So I think that's all you really need to know about this. And we have Josh Jeremiah, the Grammy-nominated Josh Jeremiah.
Thanks for this guy.
An inspector from the new regime in Rome, visiting here any day now. There's no reason to panic, nothing to fear. I am not a crook. Why, my life is an open book. I'm dead, this bastard will have my head. So the books were a little cooked, some minor taxes overlooked. That isn't fraud, as I'm a man of God. I did it for the good of our people. For the good of our people, no matter what they say. For Santa Schifez, schifezza. We do it our way. That's it. There's me, the one hanging from a tree. So some people in this town will say that they were shaken down. Extortion! Please, those are protection fees. And there, for the good of our people, for the good of our people, no matter what they say, for Santa schifezza, we do it our way. And our institutions, second to none, the hospital, church, post office, school, each and every one. And as for our police, they maintain a perfect peace. And if a person isn't perfectly peaceful and causes social strife, they make sure that person is perfectly peaceful for life. Corrupt, absurd, I won't have my honor slurred. My life is an open book. In fact, that's what I'll do. I'll write a book so everyone will know all the good work I have done for the good of our people, for the good of our people. It will be called the Mayor of Santa Schifezza, a day in the life of a classic overnight, so popular that it will leave the Bible in the dust. I need to find a writer, someone I can trust. But who can I trust? You there, none woman. She's just the person I seek. Who are you? What is your name? What? Cat got your tongue? What a shame. Don't tell me she can't speak. My name is Sister Angelica. I have taken a vow of silence. A vow of silence that's perfect, prevents any sort of leak. And why, may I ask, are you visiting our town? I wish to establish an orphanage. An orphanage. An orphanage. Consider it paid for. Done, and done. And you'll just leave her. Only one to follow me throughout the day. Jot down everything I say. Every brilliant thing I do. For the good of our people. For the good.
which was based on an Italian folktale. It's part of a double bill that I worked on with Marc and Bill Balcom. I wrote one opera, Bill wrote the other, and Marc did both libretti. So we did it for the New York Festival of Song. We scored two pianos in this particular case. We have, the basic story is that there's a wedding feast, and Luciano, who will be Tyler, is getting married, and the rest of the wedding party goes, his wife goes down to get some wine, because they're all a little bit tipsy, And so she goes down and gets some wine, and she sits down, and she starts thinking about life and all the things that can happen in life and where things could go wrong. And she starts singing the blues, and gets just so pent up in it. She has already turned on the spigot for the wine, and she completely forgets about it. And then more people from the wedding party come in, and they all start bemoaning their lives. And meanwhile, Luciano finally comes in and says, "Where's the wine? Where did everybody go?" And he sees that, in fact, the wine has all spilled out. There's no wine left. And he gets furious, and he says that he's leaving. He says he's going to leave, and he's not going to come back until he finds 6 people more foolish than the people in his family. And he leaves. So first, he comes across a married couple at first, and he's the man is standing on a wall, trying to put his pants on by jumping into them. It's not working. So he keeps jumping in, and he says, "You moved them." And she says, "I didn't move them." This goes on, and so Luciano finally says, "You know, I have an idea. Why don't you?" And he goes through telling him how to put on his pants. And it's a revelation to him. They love him for it. He moves on to the next. He's found 2. There's another wedding party, and the bride is on a horse, and in this town, the ritual is the bride has to ride on the horse through the town arch. She's too tall, so she keeps hitting her head and falling. And so one half of the bridal party says, well, it's clear that you simply have to shave down the legs of the horse. And the other says, no, just cut off the head of the bride. There's no great loss anyway, and it'll all work. So they fight back and forth until Luciano says, "No, I have an idea. Why doesn't she just bend her head down?" Even the horse gets an aria actually in this. So they love him. It's a revelation. Then there's this scene where he comes across Lena, who is fishing. And he's throwing his net, and you'll hear it in the piano. The piano, it goes this long kind of arpeggio things. It goes up and all the way up and down the keyboard. He's throwing his net out. And what it is he sees the moon in the lake, and he's trying to gather it. And every time he throws his net, it disperses. And so Luciano asks him, what's going on? Why are you doing this? And his aria is all about explaining why he's doing this. And at the end, Luciano is so moved by this story that he says, "I've found the 6th fool, and it's not this guy." So this is the encounter that sends him back to his wife and his family. So we have Luciano and Lena.
sing softly, softly. Save me, save me. I throw my net to draw her to shore, but her face shatters into 100 pieces, only to come together as before. But that's only the reflection of the full moon. The what? Only the reflection of the full. The what? A full. Every month I will reappear until we are lying together, lying still. And she's singing softly, love me, love me, love me. May I ask, my friend, how she came to such a horrible end? Bad soup and stupidity. The soup had too much garlic, and I had too much of the other. We fought, I walked out, she ran after, fell in this lake, and drowned. Mine, of course, was the greater crime. When you love someone, you should love all of them, all the time. Ah, there she is again. Thank you. What a change you've made. How can such wisdom be repaid? Dear friend, here is where I go, for I think I see fool number 6. Oh, not him, me.
is from later the same evening. This is an original story by Marc. I won't go into the details because we want to get done, not at midnight. But it's based on 5 paintings of Edward Hopper. The 4th painting is a scene of a theater. So everyone has theater tickets. This is a painting called Hotel Window. And there's a young woman sitting on a bed with a piece of paper that could be a letter on her lap. There's a suitcase. There's the ever-present window in Hopper paintings. And she is writing a Dear John letter, basically, to her boyfriend, saying that she's leaving town. Meanwhile, her boyfriend has gotten tickets to this Broadway show, and he's waiting for her with a ring, because he's going to ask her to marry him. And of course, she doesn't show up. We'll find out later in the play. But at one point, she looks at her watch. Everybody, whoever's going, they look at their watches and they say 7:15. That kind of places it. All these scenes happen simultaneously. 7:15. We've got to get ready. That's what she's talking about when she says 7:15. So she goes. She remembers. She goes over to the window. She looks out at all of Manhattan and does what any analyst would do. She sings an aria. To sing that aria is My Lovely White Apron. I don't remember. I think I did. That's just writing the Dear John.
That's right.
Yeah, that would be me.
As for me, I will never forget you. By the time you open this letter, I'll be on the train back to Indianapolis.
wonderful. To hear such music in our office is always a real treat for us. We're going to change our stage setting just slightly so we can have a conversation in a moment. And get to ask John some questions about this wonderful music and his opera. We could bring that chair on over. Do you have a better side?
They're both bad.
No. Thank you.
And he's running to rehearsal.
Well, we're glad that she spent some time with us this afternoon, and thank you. Before you all came, John was sitting down, and from his brilliant memory, through his brilliant hands, playing some Bach, and it was wonderful here in the office. Thank you so much for that treat. We wanted to talk about some of the inspiration for John's work, and as you read in the biography in the program, it says that you are a master of the concert song. And I was curious, with someone who has mastered, as you have, the genre of the song, is it a difficult transition to go from the short form of songwriting to the full evening length of an opera?
No, but I don't think they're not particularly related. Yes, there's. I mean, when I write a song, I'm always thinking of a character. The character singing a song and having whatever this is to say. But I also have done some movie work and documentary scores, and I find that much more akin to what we do in opera. Because really what you do for instance, if you're scoring a documentary or scoring a movie, somebody's doing a scene, whatever, you're basically, that's the aria, and you're accompanying them and then connecting that scene to the next one, and it's, I found that more, I think that informed me more about how to put together an opera than just writing.
And I'm fascinated that you reference film and documentary, because it's my sense that when you're doing a film or documentary, the music is more subservient in the documentary or film than it is in the opera.
Yeah.
And is it a challenge? Because lots of times in listening to film composers, you think, gosh, they would be a good opera composer, but when they try their hand at opera, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because they're not really accustomed to being in the dramaturgical driver's seat.
Yeah.
Is it still a step from scoring a documentary to taking charge of the entire opera, musically speaking?
Yes, I think that you simply, and I think this about a lot of composers. There are some composers you hear, and some of the great composers who say, that opera that's really not happening. I think there are some composers that are theatrical by nature, and I don't think it's something that you can, I actually don't think it's something you can learn. It's, if you play a Mozart concerto, and you're there and the instruments are all around, you can hear the characters scuffling on stage, somebody stops, considers, changes his mind. It's all in there. It's in every piece he wrote. He was a theater composer. You know, he just lived the theater. Every piece he wrote was theatrical. The same with Leonard Bernstein. And actually, both of them have this wonderful. This is what they have in common: is they both, everything they wrote, even if it was symphony or whatever it was, is innately theatrical, and they also both have this quality that these tunes just dropped out of heaven, you know, and landed.
I so agree with you about Mozart. You just know there's a character behind the solo flute or the violin. You just
Absolutely.
feels the dramaturgy.
Absolutely. And I can't imagine playing a Mozart concerto or sonata, not ever having known an opera. It seems to be the basis of everything.
So there you are composing an opera and not having any compositional skill whatsoever. I wonder whether...
Because we're talking about
No. When, is it that you're composing along and it's all going well, and then, oh Lord, I have to come up with an aria? Or do the characters speak to you through arias, and then you have to think, oh, how do I connect these? Is one part of it easier for you than another in terms of the aria versus the connecting material?
You know, working with Marc, Marc
Not
presents
me.
me, working with Marc, he presents me with a libretto, with the libretto is here, and structure is very, very, very paramount important to me. And libretto's on one side, and on the other side, this is commentary. And also rhyme scheme, and this rhyme scheme comes back on page 34. This is, you know, you might want to think about this. He tells about what their frame of mind is, all kinds of notes about what's going on in the play, which is extremely helpful. And so I could just, you know, it's very clear where the arias are, and he also has an uncanny way of writing a scene, and he doesn't know what I'm going to write in terms of music, but whatever he writes, it's never too long. It's just right. The proportions are right. You know, he has a sense about the sense of the stage, how it should, you know, progress and how it flows and how, you know, what you need an up number here. I don't have to tell him that. You know,
Well, we're jumping ahead because I wanted to ask you about your work with Marc, because all four of your operas have had Marc as the librettist.
Yeah.
And if you look at the opera literature, it's an interesting exercise to go through. The number of the core repertoire pieces that are done by just a handful of composer librettist teams. And that if you think of the great operas, and you have Mozart and Ponte, and Verdi Piave, Verdi Boito, Hofmannsthal, and Strauss, Wagner, and there are Puccini and Illica Giacosa, so that so many of the core works, a significant percentage, are by just a handful of composer librettist team. So clearly it's the team that matters. You've just described Marc's quality as a partner, but you've never dated around with other librettists to see if someone else speaks to you in a different way that makes you compose differently or better. Why is Marc so right for you?
Oh, you know, we were both interested in doing the same thing. I'm not, you know, I would actually love to work with someone else on something very, very different. And you know, I mean, he's off working with, you know, he's stepping out on me. And, no, I mean, it's just never come up, you know, because one of the reasons is that I've been very interested in doing comedy. And there isn't anybody doing it. You know, I look at the other operas that are being written, and none of them are comedies. You know, and we've had this split where opera is always about very serious, iconic figures and tragic circumstances and big, gigantic stories, and comedy is relegated to Broadway, to musical comedy, you know, that kind of thing. And it didn't used to be that way, obviously. You know. So Marc just has a flair for comedy. I mean, he also, and it's very illuminating when we were late the same evening, which is kind of a serious piece, and he really can handle that too. You know?
And it's funny because you say that, yes, we love these comic operas that we know so well, but if you look at the output of Verdi, there's really one successful comedy. And
right.
Puccini, there's one successful comedy. And Wagner, you know, comedy doesn't live too well on the opera stage once you get sort of beyond Rossini, Donizetti. What is it drew you to wanting to explore comedy in opera?
I don't know, it just, my favorite operas are comedies. An Ode to the Figaro and Falstaff. And I just have such a good time in theater. And there's something about, you know, when, it's not that it's not serious. You could, comedy, really good comedy could be deadly serious. But it's not heavy, you know? And it's even being involved in the putting together of a comedy in rehearsal. Everybody is just in such a good mood. I mean, Josh was in a workshop for well, he sang Volpone, and then he was in one of the workshops for this new piece. And, you know, people come in, and they're in a good mood, and they're laughing, they're trying things out, and somebody does something ridiculous, or somebody falls down, or something, you know, it's just being involved in it and putting it together is so rewarding and
And
fun.
the label for That's what I saw, that it is not, do you refer to it as a comic opera later this evening?
No, we just bill it as an opera based on 5 paintings of Edward Hopper.
And how did an opera spring from 5 paintings? Because think of an opera as having some dramaturgical arc, and 5 paintings just being 5 objects. All the other works that you have are based on some pre-existing theatrical or literary source.
Yeah.
How did it work jumping from 5 paintings to a theatrical piece?
That's all Marc. That's kind of Marc's piece, later the same evening, because we were asked to, Leon Major, who was at the University of Maryland, was trying to do something with the National Gallery, and they had a Hopper exhibit coming through, and was going to wind up at the National Gallery in November, December of '07. And so he was trying to put something together with them. So actually, both of those entities were behind the same meeting, and they decided that it was going to be Hopper. They asked us about Hopper. Marc looked through scads and scads of paintings of Hopper, and he decided to use New York paintings. And then he found 5 paintings that actually he found an arc in these 5 paintings. And he wrote the story and wrote a through line so that the characters would, all the characters would wind up in the 4th painting. It was quite ingenious what he did.
It's a wonderful piece. It is beautifully structured. I'm a great fan of the piece. Another one-act opera. And one-act operas can be hard for opera companies because they have to think of what do they pair it with, and do they need another set, another cast for the other opera. So one-act operas are a little challenging. Why is that a form that attracts you? You've done a couple of one-act operas.
Well, the Bastianello was just because none of us wanted one acts. And we could have written anything for later the same evening. It could easily have been a full evening of 2 acts, but Marc just decided what the format should be, and just the story that was in his head. He just said, we could tell this story without intermission. And we're doing it as a double bill this summer at Glimmerglass,
Right.
with the Janine Tagore, Tony Kushner piece.
Right.
Which will be fascinating for me, because I have no idea what it is.
And I wanted to ask you about that, whether you have any sense of it, and how you feel being partnered. It's kind of like an arranged marriage. How do you feel about that?
It's great, mix it up, whatever. I know it's based on something to do with Eugene O'Neill. But outside of that, I have no idea what it is.
And your piece is the second in the pairing?
I don't even
Or is that
know
not yet determined?
I don't even know.
The first in the pairing? Okay, that's good. So you're coming first.
Okay.
Well, it'll just be great to hear it and to see what you think of it as it's paired with your piece. 2 of your works have premiered or will premiere at Wolf Trap.
Yeah.
And I know that that's a company you have liked working with. What is it that makes a good opera company producer for you?
Okay, it's, first of all, it's Kim Whitman there. And I don't know how many people know that she is a hellacious pianist. Wonderful pianist. And she knows all these scores. She plays all of them. And she insists on learning them, because that's why she got into opera, because, she wants to get in there and do it, So she knows them inside out. And I can't think of many intendants of opera companies that can do that. And being a musician, she just gets it. She gets the creative process. She knows how to watch over things and not intrude on anything. I think the most important thing for me, and for Marc, I know that we work with a director and a conductor that we're both really, really comfortable with. That we call up at any hour and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think about that? Give me some feedback. And we were working with Leon Major, who, I remember seeing his marriage of Figaro at Lake George when my wife was an apprentice. And it's still the best marriage of Figaro I've ever seen. And I said, how do you get to work with this? I guess you have to write an opera to work with this guy. And I've known him all these years, and it was so great to be able to actually get in and work with him. But we really have to, take the step and say, I trust these two people to give us an entertaining evening in the theater, then leave them alone and let them know what they know how to do. And that's what Kim does.
Do you like to workshop your works? Do you like to take a look at the work?
Absolutely. I must do it. Must.
Once, twice, in pieces? How
Well,
do you do it?
it's always been, the new pieces we've been involved in has always been 2 workshops. Should have at least 2 workshops, which,
Have you made any adjustments to Later this Same Evening since it premiered? Or was it set in stone, you premiered it and it worked and you were happy with it?
I'm thinking. No, it's the way we wrote it. Mark, every once in a while, will say, you know, I'm going to reconsider this word here or that or something. But no, that particular piece is the way we wrote it.
Any interesting projects coming up that you can tell us about?
I'm busy, we're recording my piano concertos with Glenn, one of his orchestras in Colorado. That's a project that's active now.
No other operas in the sites?
Not at the moment. We have ideas batting around.
Mhm.
We're talking to people, but we just got finished. I just sent the full score off, last week for this one. So,
And what's the premiere date?
premiere, we will play the 27th and 29th of April and the 1st of May.
And does it move on from there, or is that
It goes up next season at Boston Mark.
Great, fantastic. That's good to know.
And we have later the same evening this summer, and Amy and I are doing some cabaret performances along with
At the festival?
at the festival.
That's wonderful. Okay. Let me turn to our own. So are there any questions from our guests here this evening? Yes, ma'am.
You were talking about the relationship between composer and conductor, and in reading about Puccini and Toscanini, and how Toscanini actually rewrote bits of Puccini operas. Puccini, they would sort of have a correspondence, and he would write to Puccini and say, I don't think this is working, I'm gonna, let's rework it. Is that something that you would ever consider as?
This is what I was talking about, because I've worked with, Volcano was premiered by Michael Barrett. Glenn did Later Same Evening, and Glenn is doing business, and I frequently go to him and say, is this practical? And, is this gonna waste a half an hour of rehearsal time? How this, how that? Should this be in 4/4 time in triplets, or should it be in 12/8? Things like that I'm not a conductor, and you've got to go to people that know what they're talking about and are in front of orchestras, during time. And to have someone like that to lean on and just say, I always ask. I ask the director things. Can we have a character, whatever, the conductor, all kinds of things about the orchestration. Should the trumpet be muted? Should the, how many things did we go up with the Later Same Evening? A million things. Yeah, I must ask the conductor. So that's why I need a conductor. I have access to, And, being a composer, he's a composer. And he knows what I'm doing. He does it himself, So it works out really well.
Other questions for John? Yes? I
You
see
touched
it.
on this lightly, but I'm curious if you could go a little further into it about the difference between composing an opera based on 5 paintings,
Yeah.
where the concept of time in a painting is very, very still, versus something of a pre-existing work. And if the ability to create a through line through the order of those 5 paintings allowed it to be a little more theatrical, or if there was something in your composition that seemed or came to be more still, more momentary.
In that particular piece?
In Later the Same Evening.
No, because the thing about opera paintings is they seem like these snapshots that have just been frozen, and it makes you say, well, what happened just before that and what happened just after? And the faces are drawn vaguely enough that you can read so many things into it, you know? So it was really there was no problem animating those paintings at all. It just, you know, and then again, I don't work from the paintings. I work from the libretto. And I actually, when we're doing something from a source, like play or something like that, I actually don't want to see the source. When I did read it, I tried to read Maloney, I couldn't. I read the inspector, the government inspector. But I don't want to form opinions about what should be in and what should be out, what should be cut, what should be, because this really isn't my area, you know? And I think that is the librettist area, that's what the librettist is good at, and the librettist should do that job. And I count on the librettist to do that job. So I look at a libretto that's already done, and so it's flowing and it's, you know, it's working.
When you say it's already done, how much done? Do you really work to set all the words Marc gives you, or are there moments when you feel that your musical gesture is complete and he still has 10 words?
There are places, and we talk about that, where basically I pretty much set his libretti the way he writes them. Unless there's, for instance, there's a situation where I want to bring this tune back to make some kind of connection. And so the words here have to fit the words there, and so I'll need either fewer syllables, more syllables. There are other places where, for instance, there's a place in Volpone where everybody's on stage yelling at each other, and there's a double fugue going on. There's one fugue going on in the orchestra, there's another fugue going on stage, and Marc had what everyone was saying, but I really needed, I need to write the music first. And he was very, very cool with that. He said, look, I know what everybody's supposed to say. Write the music, and I'll fill in the rest. And so when we have big ensembles like that, it goes that way, because otherwise it gets too cumbersome.
Do you ever find that a rhyming verse, when you're working with rhyme, constricts you in terms of you're having to really protect the words so that they are very audible to the audience and they hear the rhyme? Or do you find that you don't worry too much about that, you're always concerned about the words, so the rhyme doesn't matter?
Well, the rhyme, actually, I asked for rhyme when we did Volpone. And the thing about rhyme and comedy is with so much going on in the orchestra and so much going on stage, it's very easy to miss things. And when you have rhyme, the audience will pretty much know what the punchline is, even if they don't quite hear it. So I find rhyme is very important. For instance, Latest Same Evening is not, it's kind of free verse. Every once in a while there's something that's rhymed, but it's a much different kind of libretto. Again, this one we're doing now, the inspector, very formally rhymed, because there's so many words there, and there's so much information to get out. So it really helps to have a rhyme scheme, and I really do think that the audience needs to know what the words are. They have to know what the words are, or they won't know what's going on stage. And they won't know why they're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that, you know, it's funny, when you read reviews, when the piece is in English, there's all this stuff about diction. You know, you never see anything about diction with La Boheme. And the fact is that probably 99.9% of the people in the audience who are not vocal coaches or singers or, you know, people in the business, they don't speak this language. They have no idea what's being said on stage. They know, somebody's going to die, somebody this. They have an idea of what it is. They don't know what they're saying, and they don't care. And when you have a new piece, it's a completely different standard. You know, and everybody's got to know what everybody's saying. And the first time somebody doesn't get something, they say, "Oh, diction's not so good. Wait, they get this singer," you know. And it is really hard in a big house. It's great at Wolf Trap because I think it's 350 or something like that. It's a perfect house for a comedy that goes a mile a minute. But you put that in a bigger house, you're going to need surtitles in a big way.
Laura Bride the other day up at Juilliard and in that theater to hear every single word. It's lovely not to need the
Yeah.
translation.
Yeah, we didn't have, for the premiere of Volconic, we didn't have subtitles. But there was a donor who was hard of hearing.
Yeah.
And he said, the next time you do this, I will pay for it. I want to have subtitles. So he did.
And being married to a singer, do you feel that having lived with a singer and watching her sing, she teaches, have you learned how to write for the voice better because of being married to a singer?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I would say to anybody who is thinking of writing vocal music, getting into that, getting into opera,
Marry a singer.
Short of marrying a singer, I mean, it's also important, it's so helpful when you can play, because you can play voice lessons. And how many voice lessons, well, I've heard voice lessons I've played, or, going to, playing wherever, playing with singers, and you hear the things they complain about. You hear the things they have trouble with. And even, the great composers of yore, they'll have some closed eval on a high B flat, and the singer is asphyxiated. And you figure things out that way. You learn what you don't want a performer, a fiddle player, or anyone going home and saying, oh, that piece, glad that's over. I don't want to play that one again. And it's like playing, writing for the fiddle, or writing for this, or writing for that. You have to know the instrument you're writing for. And the voice is a very quirky, idiosyncratic instrument. It has a lot of things you have to get used to about it. And the thing is, it's not like pianos have developed since the 18th, 19th century, and they make all kinds of new this and that. The voice, people are the same as they were 400 years ago. It's pretty much the same. Vocal techniques have changed, but the basic instrument, it's the same. So you have to, there's a certain ceiling with that. You have to learn how to deal with that instrument and what it does and what it can't do.
Other questions for John? Yes, sir.
Any temptation to write your own companion piece? Or, I'm having to be a trustee at Glimmer Class, and we had an issue trying to play your piece because it was too short for just you. And we were scrambling around trying to look at what we wanted to pair it with.
Yeah.
And then Scorca finally came up with the idea of writing something with. Any feeling that you may want to do what Puccini did and sort of control the whole night with 3 short pieces or something like that?
I think.
Bastianello orchestration.
Well, I know. I was kind of, that idea crossed my mind. You see, this Bastianello that I wrote actually is for 2 pianos, and it crossed our minds to start offering, to orchestrate that piece, which is only half an hour. Maybe it's 40 minutes. And later the same evening is 70, something like that. So that might be something that we could, as for creating a new piece that will go with later the same evening, I don't know. It hasn't occurred to me, to tell you the truth. It'd be interesting pairing to put Bastianello, or even, to orchestrate what we have now with Bill Volcom and put that on stage. That's something that's actually all you intendantes out there, for the low price of an orchestration.
Yeah.
A full production of a premiere of Bastianello Lucrezia. Bill wrote a hilarious piece with Marc. Just hilarious. Loads of tunes.
Well, before we keep dinner time, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your great work, for your generosity and spirit here with us tonight. Thanks for this
thank you.
time.
I didn't miss it.
For
Thank
all
you.
of you, thank you. Come back and see us again, and just remember to go to 18 the next time you stop. Thank you.
Yeah. Tony.
Yes. Please say hello to Shelby. I will. Hello, hello. Beth? Huang Ro. Oh, hi, Huang Ro. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I had to go say hello. I had to actually say hello since we didn't get a chance to this morning. You guys were, I know. You guys were so busy chatting. I didn't even do anything, so I'm glad I could say hello.
Oh, sorry.
Right back.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. Good. She's actually interested in that. Good. Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
I
wanted to give you, in the middle of this, thought of another Brennus idea.
Oh, great.
Marc is not here.
Oh.
I wanted to introduce him to Marc. Marc is the engineer.
How are you? It's been a while. Catching up.
There we go. Yeah, cheers. Watching the way, I didn't realize you had these luxurious offices.
Oh, well. Yeah, quite nice.
Yes. I bet it's Marc's. No, it's not. Oh, it looks like it's 3. Well, it looks. Oh, I see. Actually, inside. You got it.
Oh, 3. I was getting a
So different, really. And wild things as it, sort of pulls me out. I rein it in, and and it really